Shall we get started? Shall we? Excuse me. Walgreen Designs. Will they get late to come? Shall I get started then? Is it okay? They're coming. Quickly settle down. Right. Look at the question. Look at the question. See how are we going to tackle the answer for these questions, right? Walgreen designs, develops, and sells many PC games. In modern business days, you all are chasing game after the game. Am I correct? Look at the very important point what they have given. Games have the short life cycle. Games has what? Short life cycle lasting around 3 years only. Then what is the duration of the project? Duration of the project is what? Only 3 years. Short life cycle, which is what? 3 years. You'll have to underline that part first. The total duration of the product is what? Only 3 years. Right? Short life cycle. Performance of the game is measured by the reference to the profit made by each expected 3 years of popularity. Walgreens accepts a net profit 35% of the turnover is what? Reasonable. These are the parameters or metrics that the company is using to check the performance of the company. Right? One parameter which is given as what? 35% turnover as a reasonable from the net profit. Excuse me. What is meant by net profit? What is meant by net profit? That is not management accounting. That is not management accounting. It's all about what? Financial accounting. That's also not advanced part of the financial accounting. I can't teach you. I don't need to teach you what is meant by net profit. You should know that. If you do not know what is meant by net profit, it's, very, very serious issue that is. What is meant by net profit? First, sales minus cost of sales equals to what? Gross profit. Gross profit minus expenses, what? Net profit. Very simple idea. As you said, income minus what? Total expenses. So, management accounting perspective, income means what? Main source of income is what? Sales. Am I correct? Main source of income is what? Sales. Sales minus total variable cost. What do you call for that? Sales minus total variable cost. Very good. Contribution. Contribution minus total fixed cost. What do you call for that? Contribution minus fixed cost. Yes. Profit. We can say what? Profit. Sales minus total variable cost equals to what? Contribution. Contribution minus fixed cost equals to what? Profit. Now here, this profit is checked by using what? Net profit margin ratio. You should know what is meant by net profit margin ratio. That is not available via in the management accounting. I can't teach you that part, of course. Why? It is already done via in the basic part of what? Financial accounting. How to calculate net profit margin? Net profit divided by what? Sales times what? 100. That is what? Net profit margin. Net profit margin. What is the net profit being generated from what? Your sales. From your sales, what is the net profit being what? Generated, which is known as what? Net profit margin. Net profit margin. Is that understandable? Second one, a rate of contribution, sales price less variable cost. It's given in the question itself. What is meant by what? Contribution. 75% is also considered as acceptable. For that, of course, we will be learning. There's a ratio we call CS ratio. CS ratio. What is meant by CS ratio? Contribution divided by what? Sales times 100. We call it as what? CS ratio. So that should have been kept as what? 75%. There are two metrics or parameter which has been given to evaluate the performance of the company with regard to the what life cycle of what these games. Summary of the question is what? Right? If I cut short everything, The game's duration is what only 3 years. Life cycle is what only 3 years. To check the performance of the company is using what two parameter, two metrics. One is what net profit ratio. You should know what is meant by net profit ratio. Net profit divided by sales. What is the net profit being generated from what your total sales? That should have been kept as how many percentage? 35%. 35%. Right? Or they are using another ratio, which is what CS ratio. We'll be learning in our next chapter under break-even analysis in detail with regard to the what? CS ratio, contribution sales ratio. What is meant by contribution? We'll be learning, no worries. What is meant by contribution sales ratio? What is the contribution being generated from what your sales? What is the contribution that is generated from what? Your sales. How to calculate contributions divided by sales equals to what? CS ratio. Contribution divided by sales equals to what? CS ratio. If you want to calculate for 1 unit, contribution per unit divided by selling price. If you are going to calculate for the total company, total contribution divided by total sales, ultimate answer would be same. Ultimate answer would be what? Same. Either way, CS ratio can be ascertained. Either way, it can be ascertained. Walgreens has a large centralized development department. Yes, come. So they have given that particular point with regard to the third part of the requirement, which has not been given where in our which yeah, quickly. They said only 20 minutes time. I don't know. What's the normal duration that they are giving you? 40 minutes. I don't know because 20 minutes. 30 minutes. You let me know, then we can adjust based on what your requirement. So as a management accountant, I'll have to adapt based on the what conditions. Different places, different way, we are doing in different systems. That's all. Very simple. If you are telling me the half an hour, we can go with the half an hour.
No, 10 to us. 10:30 to 12:30.
But what they told me was, what I was informed, 8 to 10, right? Starting the class 10:20, finishing the class first week only for 12:30, from the second slots onward for until 1 o'clock. That is what I was told by the management. If you ask me to adjust anything, I can do it. It's up to you. No problem. But end of the day, we need to pass the exam. These are non-value adding activities. Am I correct? These are what? Non-value adding activities. These activities which will not give the support to pass the exam. You just fix it. We will go as your requirement. It's up to you. Right. Come back to the point. Walgreens has a large centralized development department which carries out all of the design work before it passes the completed games to the what sales and distribution department to market and distribute the product. So that para which is necessary to answer the third part of the question, it has been but removed for the time being because the budget area we have not yet discussed. Therefore, we will discuss that part later, right? So very simple. It's a centralized operations. Centralized operation. You know what is exactly meant by centralized operation, right? Walgreens has developed a brand new game called Stealth, and this has the following budgeted performance figure. Excuse me. This is the way of tackling the questions. Look at what I have put there on the screen. First, I put the heading as life cycle costing, right? So then they are talking about the what profit and they are talking about the contribution. Then I have highlighted how to calculate the contribution. Sales minus all variable cost is what? Contribution. Sales minus all expenses is what? Net profit or profit. Very simple idea. So you were asking what is meant by traditional method. This is the traditional method. This is the traditional method of what? Calculating profit. General method of what? Calculating profit. The selling price of the stealth will be constant $30 per game. Every one game selling price is how much? Now I'm going to scribble down all these points. Selling price $30 per game. $30 per game. Excuse me, once again I'm telling you all, don't forget in management accounting, whenever you write down, don't put as for 30. 30 for what? Cost now, that cost for what? Per hour or per unit, that should have been clearly what? Indicated. Otherwise, you will be losing the marks where in the exam. Otherwise, you will be losing the marks. That should have been clearly what? Specified. Analysis of the cost shows that the volume of 10,000 units, listen, at the volume of 10,000 units, at 10,000 units, 10,000 units, total cost $130,000. Total cost is what? $130,000. Now you tell me what is meant by total cost. What is meant by total cost? Yeah, it has both elements as involved. One is a variable cost, another one is what? Fixed cost. TVC and what? TFC. Correct? At 14,000 units, total cost is at 14,000 units. Total cost is $150,000. Once again, it has what? Both element. Variable cost as well as what? Fixed cost. Variable cost as well as what? Fixed cost. Look at the small conditions. Look at the small condition. What they say, if volume exceeds 15,000 units, if volume what? Exceeds 15,000 units, your fixed cost will get step. Will get step by how many percentage? 50%. That is applicable only when if you are increasing your production what? More than equal to 15 or more than 15,000 units. Clear? Now before we do the calculation of what the requirement, we can identify what is the variable cost and what is the fixed cost and what is the step fixed cost. Do you all agree with me? Do you all agree with me? Do you all agree with me? Right. Let's calculate the what by using the high-low method. By using the high-low method, variable cost per unit equal change in cost divided by change in output. That is what? 150,000, 130,000 divided by 14,000 minus 10,000. What is the variable cost per unit? $5. $5 per unit. Under any circumstances in management accounting, total variable cost plus total fixed cost equals to what? Total cost. Correct? At 10,000 units, 10,000 units, total variable cost plus what? Total fixed cost equals to what? Total cost. Total cost. At 10,000 units, they have given the total cost, which is how much? 130,000, no? 130,000. Right? Variable cost will vary based on the activity level. Variable cost will vary based on the what? Activity level. You found the per unit variable cost is how much? 5. Therefore, the total variable cost at 10,000 unit, 10,000 times what? 5 plus TFC. Correct? Now the TFC would be 80,000. Correct? Now we found the TFC. Let's get the what? Step fixed cost as well. Step fixed cost. Right? That is applicable when you are passing what? More than 15,000 units. 15,000 units. Step fixed cost would be 50%. It will increase by 50%. Therefore, step fixed cost would be $120,000. Is that understandable? Is that understandable? This is the summary of the question what they have given over here. And the state budgeted volumes are as follows. Year 1, because the duration is only 3 years. Duration is only 3 years. First year, our sales is 8,000 units. Second year, that is basically due to the growth stage, our sales is how much? 16,000 units. Third year, maybe decline phase. Decline phase. Therefore, our sales is only how many units? 4,000 units. All these parts should come into the mind when you are reading the question. So each sales volume, you should connect with the life cycle of phases. So they have given, because the duration of the this game is only 3 years. So the duration is 3 years. There will be a research and development. There will be an introduction. There will be a growth. There will be a maturity. There will be a decline. The third year is the last year. Therefore, the decline phase. Then your sales is only 4,000 units. Year 2 is peak, right? Your sales is 16,000. Now you tell me, excuse me, you tell me, when you are producing and selling 8,000 units, what is the fixed cost? When you are producing and selling 8,000 units, what would be the fixed cost? 80,000. When you are producing and selling 16,000 units, 120,000. That is what we have found. Last one, at 3,000, year 3, at 4,000 units, what would be the fixed cost? 8,000. In addition, marketing cost for the stealth will be 60,000 in the year 1, 40,000 year 2. There is no marketing cost year 1. There is no marketing cost year 1. Design and development costs are all incurred before the game is launched. Before the game is launched. And has cost of $300,000 for stealth. Right? These costs are written off the income statement as incurred. Now there are two profits that can be calculated. Do you all agree with me? One is traditional method of the profit. To calculate the profit based on the life cycle costing, only one adjustment to be made. What is that? Only one adjustment to be made. What is that? Only one adjustment to be made. That is what? Only the research and development cost should have been adjusted at the end of the period. All the other calculations are much more similar for the life cycle costing and the traditional method approach. This is what I have shown as a summary of the questions. This is the summary. Right? If I cut short everything, this company, Walgreen company, makes games. The duration of the game is 3 years. Duration of the game is 3 years. Only short life cycle. Am I correct? They are checking the performance of the company by using the two metrics. By using the two metrics, parameters. One is net profit ratio. One is net profit ratio. How to calculate net profit ratio? Net profit over sales. Another parameter is CS ratio. Contribution divided by sales. Contribution divided by sales. That should be how many percentage? 75%. And the net profit ratio should be 35%. As this product is giving above these 2%, the product will be accepted. Product will be accepted. And they have given the what details with regard to the what variable cost, selling price, and the what fixed cost. We found everything. Now the requirement is what? Calculate the what? Profit or losses for the each year and the total. Look at the B part of the requirement. B part of the requirement. Produce the budgeted result for the game's health and briefly assess the game's expected performance, taking to the account whole life cycle of the game, which is a 9 marks. I will explain you, no worries. Step by step we will do it. No worries. Very straightforward. As soon as I put on the board, you will ask the question from me. Easy is the answer for this question. Very, very easiest answer for this one. Before that, we will quickly answer the part A. Part A. Explain the principle behind life cycle costing and briefly state why Walgreen in particular should consider this life cycle principle. First of all, you will have to explain what is meant by life cycle costing. What is meant by life cycle costing? Tracking and tracing the cost and revenue for the what? Throughout the life cycle of the what? Games. Here you will have to make it as what? Not the product. Here is what? Games. That is what is known as what? Life cycle costing. Life cycle costing, say, listen very carefully. This is the way of what I will dictate the notes. Before that, I just want to develop the answers from you. Excuse me. Life cycle costing teaches us most of the product is having huge cost at the initial stage. Most of the cost with regard to the product we have, but at the initial stage. That is what I said. 90% of the cost the company is incurring during the what? Designing stage. That's the way of we'll have to develop the notes behind the exam. If you look at this company, Walgreen company, this Walgreen company is what? Making what? Games. If they are making and selling games, the company is having more initial costs due to the what? Software development. Do you agree with me? Therefore, this life cycle costing, which is applicable for this Walgreen company to have a better decision making and to have a what? Better control and grip where in the cost. Then the 3 marks will be given to you. First part of the answer, because this is only 4 marks now. Only 4 marks. You have to give us brief introduction with regard to the what is meant by life cycle costing. Look at the question, what it says. Explain the principle behind life cycle costing. What is exactly meant by life cycle costing? That is first part of the your answers. You have to give the definitions about what life cycle costing. Tracking and tracing the cost and revenue throughout the life cycle. There are 5 phases in the life cycle of the product. For games, one is what? Introduction, research and development, introduction, maturity, growth, maturity and decline. Right? If you look at this Walgreen company, this Walgreen company also incurring huge or high amount of what? Initial cost due to the what? Software development. Therefore, this concept which is applicable for Walgreen company as well. What? Life cycle costing. Life cycle costing which is applicable for Walgreen company as well. The next para, using this life cycle costing concept for Walgreen Limited, it would give you the better decision making with regard to the what? Product. Second, the company will have a better grip and control the cost. Clear? So that's the way of what? Developing. Anyway, I'll dictate for this question, but that is a way of what? Writing the answers behind the exam. Right? I will dictate the way the examiner what they have given to you, all the answers. Take down. Life cycle costing is a concept. Life cycle costing is a concept. Life cycle costing is a concept which traces which traces all cost to a product, all cost to a product, all cost to a product, plural cost, right, to a product over its complete life cycle, over its complete life cycle. Comma, from design through to cessation, from design to cessations, from design through to cessation, from design through to cessation, yeah, through to cessations, full stop. I'll repeat again. Examine answer. What I'm dictating is what? Examine answer. Life cycle costing is the concept which traces all cost to product over its complete life cycle, comma, from design through to cessation. Full stop and continue. It recognizes that for many products there are significant costs to be incurred it recognizes that for many products there are significant costs to be incurred in the early stages of life cycle. Early stages of what? Life cycle. Early stages of its life cycle. Right? Full stop and continue. This is probably very true for Walgreen Limited as well. Walgreen, company name, Walgreen Limited as well. Full stop and continue. Because Walgreen Limited, the design and development of software is a long and complicated process. And it is likely that the cost involved would be very significant. Put a star mark and write. The profitability of a product. Profitability of a product can then be assessed taking all cost into considerations. assessed taking all costs into considerations. The second part of the requirement says why this concept is important for what? For Green Limited. In other words, that question is asking what are the benefits of using the what? Life cycle costing for this company. Now we will interpret the benefits, right? Next para. It is also likely that adopting life cycle costing, it is also likely that adopting life cycle costing, it is also likely that adopting life cycle costing would improve decision making and cost control Please highlight or underline that part. So the main benefit that we are going to get through the life cycle costing is what? Decision making and the what? Cost control. Full stop and continue. The early development costs would have to be seen in the context of the expected trading results Therefore, preventing a serious overspend at this stage or underpricing at the launch point. Okay, the early development costs would have to be seen in the context of the expected trading results. Therefore, preventing series of overspend at this stage or underpricing at the launch point. Excuse me, it is not compulsory to go with what the same thing what I have explained over here, the same way explanation. But what I'm expecting you to do with regard to the what this requirement, first of all, you'll have to give a small introduction with regard to what is meant by life cycle costing. Right? Second point, you'll have to elaborate how that life cycle costing which would help to what? This company, or how this life cycle costing with link with what? Go Green Limited. We can make the link. This company is also having a what? Significant cost where in the initial stage by developing a what? Software. It's a what? Very complicated process. If you use that particular sentence, you will be given the marks. And the last part of the answer, you'll have to explain the what? Advantages. By using life cycle costing, what are the advantages this Go Green Limited is going to what? Enjoy. That is all about what? This requirement. Clear? Now I will give you 5 to 10 minutes time, right? I will give you the format also. I'll give you the format also. You can now answer for the what second part of the requirement, because I have given you the summary. You can take down the summary first quickly. Take down the summary, please, first, to answer for the second part of the requirement. Right? Take this down. Take this part. Take down this part. Right? Are you all done? Are you all done? Right, now I will give you the format of getting the answer for the next part of the requirement. You just try yourself first, then I will explain. Right? Produce part B of the answer. Produce the budgeted result for the game stealth and briefly assess the game's expected performance, taking into the account for the whole life cycle of the game. So year one, first year one, how many units? Year one, 8,000 units. 8,000 units. Second one is what? Year two, 16,000. Yes, 16,000 units. Year three, 4,000 units. Keeps one more column for what? Total. One more column for what? Total. Now you can start off calculating what? Profit. Sales minus what? All expenses. Then calculate the profit through the what? Traditional method. Right? Online student, you can go with this format, same format. But already I have taught you at the very first day, there is no specific format where in the management accounting. I can't give you the format. Different format which would be what? Apply for the what? Different type of a questions. Year 1 8,000 units, year 2 what 16,000 units, year 3 what 4,000 units, and calculate the what company's total profit and what, not profit and profit or what loss. Go ahead. Everyone should attempt the questions. Everyone should attempt the question. Very easiest one.
அது முதல்ல பேங்க் மாதிரி தெரியும் எனக்கு. டெபாசிட் பண்ண முடியாது.
Excuse me. That's a good. I'll ask everyone. Were you there in the first class? No, I'm just up. Right, okay. There's a one question from the students. Just have a look. Excuse me. There's a one question from the student. She is asking, I have explained the fixed overhead will remain constant. For this question, why this is not constant? Fixed overhead is always constant, but the question says what? There's a step fixed cost. There's a step fixed cost. What is exactly meant by step fixed cost? After passing certain activity level, your fixed cost will get changed. Best example about this classroom. This classroom, you tell me maximum how many students that I can accommodate? 50? For 0 to 50, my fixed cost is, let's say, 50,000 rupees. If I get more than 50 students, I have to go for a bigger than this classroom. If I go for a bigger than this classroom, what will happen to my fixed cost? It will get changed. But generally, in management accounting perspective, it will remain constant. It will remain constant. For certain occasions, based on the conditions, it may get what? Changed. Shall we get started with these questions? Right, okay. Traditional method. First, let's calculate the sales. Sales. How many units we sold out first year? 8,000 units. 8,000 units. What is the selling price? 30. Therefore, what is the total sales? 240,000. Correct? Second year, we sold out what? 16,000. Therefore, how much? 480,000. Third year, we sold out how many units? 4,000. Therefore, 120,000. As far as the company is concerned, in 3 years' time, what is the company's total sales? 840,000. Total sales is what? 840,000. Is that understandable? This is not a rocket science. Calculating sales value. I do not explain to you how to calculate the sales value. Selling price minus sales unit is what? Sales value. I don't need to explain that part. How to calculate the sales value. Can you go with the what Parrot approach? I can go back to the what Parrot approach. Am I correct? It is very, very simple. Basic stuff. Sales value equals sales units times what? Selling price. Now we'll have to deduct what? All the expenses. Cost. In management accounting perspective, first part of the cost is what? Variable cost. Excuse me. In management accounting, performance management, if ever possible to calculate contribution, please calculate the contribution. Don't ever calculate the profit straight away. Always show the breakdown. Always show the breakdown any part of what? Performance management. If ever possible. If ever possible to calculate the contribution, please calculate. Now we have the total variable cost. Do you all agree with me? We found the variable cost per unit through the high-low method. It is how much? $5. We have calculated because you know at 10,000 units our total cost is 130,000. At 14,000 units our total cost is how much? 150,000. By using the high-low method, we have differentiated variable cost and the fixed cost. Variable cost is what? $5. What is meant by variable cost? Variable cost is a cost which will vary according to the activity levels. The best example, fabric, direct material. Best example, direct labor. Best example, royalties payment. These are the best example with regard to the what? Variable cost. To manufacture a one shirt, 1 meter fabric. 2 shirts, 2 meter fabric. Right? The first year, we are manufacturing and selling 8,000 units. Every 1 unit is a variable cost that we have found $5. Then what is the total variable cost? 40,000. Here 80,000. Correct? Now the total variable cost would be 120, 160. Yeah, 140,000. Now we can get the what contributions. This is 200,000. This is 400,000. This is 100,000. Altogether, company's contribution is what? 700,000. Clear? Is that understandable? Look at the question is very, very easiest question. This is the bonus questions behind the exam. Once again, I'm telling you, if you ask me the format of life cycle, there's no format for life cycle costing. Life cycle costing, if you ask me what is the format, no format. Target costing, what is the format? No format. Format that you are developing, that is the format of what? Target costing. The format that you are developing yourself for the life cycle costing, that is the format. But the element should have been what included. There's no specific format. If you ask me the format, there's no format. You got my point. Next one, to calculate the profit, we need to subtract the what? Fixed cost. In addition to the fixed cost, they have given here marketing cost as well. Therefore, we will adjust what? Both. First one is the fixed cost. Total fixed cost. Fixed overhead, as you said, it will remain constant. That is applicable only for the 8,000 units and the 4,000 units. We have found the fixed cost. You remember. What is the fixed cost? Which is what? $80,000. That $80,000 is applicable only for 4,000 units and the what? 8,000 units. Agree with me? Now, fixed cost. This is 80,000. Here also what? 80,000. Right? And for 16,000 unit, what would be the total fixed cost? What would be the total fixed cost? Can I put 80,000? No, it should be what? 120,000. Now we can get the total fixed cost, which is how much? 240 or 280? 280,000. 280,000. Now we have a marketing cost as well. Am I correct? Minus what? Marketing cost. Marketing cost. Marketing cost, we have only but 60,000 year one. And 40,000 year two. 40,000 year two. There's no marketing cost for year three. Year three. Total marketing cost for the company would be what? 100,000. Now we can get the what? Net profit or profit. Profit. Also you can call it as what? Net profit. NP stand for what? Net profit. Also you can call as what? Net profit. How much the net profit for the first year? 140 now 60,000. Second year 160 now 240. Correct? 240,000. What is the profit for the year 3? 20,000. Company profit 320,000. Clear? Is that understandable? Only for these calculation you can collect at least 5 marks. At least 5 marks out of 9. Quickly take down this answer. Excuse me. Did I calculate now traditional method of profit calculation? So the life cycle costing profit. This is what I have shown as about traditional method of what? Life cycle costing. Sorry. Traditional method of what? Profit calculation. Not the life cycle costing. Not the life cycle costing. Excuse me. Why games life cycle is only 3 years? What's the reason? What's the reason? The life cycle they made it as a what 3 years? Of course, you will be bored with the what the same games. You will try to get what something new. That's why I told you you all are chasing what game after game. Am I correct? Game after game. That's the reason they have made it as a only what 3 years. Within 3 years time, the company should make the what profit. Company should make the what profit by recouping all the costs what they have incurred with regard to the what game. Any questions the people have joined through online? Yeah. Yeah, you can do it in the Excel. I don't need to enter then again Excel, no? No point. The duplication will be entries, no? Because the explanations I can't do it via the Excel. That's why I'm using the what whiteboard screen. Excel you can enter it. Instead of you are taking down where in your notebook, you can put it everything in the Excel. You can save it. So here the Excel only the what addition and subtractions. Better do it in Excel. That's better. You know why? Since you are going to do the exams where in your computer, better try it where in the Excel itself. But in management accounting, it will not help you much for the calculations part, addition subtractions, right? Some other part you'll have to what because when you are selecting the function itself, it will take time, no, sometime. No, when you are selecting the function, because if you look at the figures, 240,000 minus what 40,000, which is how much? 200,000. No need to select the function for that. Straight away you can enter it. When you are selecting the function, it will take about 30 or 40 seconds. Do the way you can save the time. Any method is okay. As long as you get a what correct answer with the what time saving approach. Time saving approach. It's up to you.
What is this? Under 40, 600.
Shall we continue? Right. Now, you all jot down, no? You all done, no? Shall I move on? Shall I move on? Do you want time? Time. Shall we check the parameters? Are we with the standard? Shall we check? What is the expected net profit margin? Expected net profit margin 35%. This is what expected, right? Expected profit margin is what? 35%. CS ratio, what is the expected one? 70%. Correct? 75%. Sorry? This is what we have expected. Now let's calculate what is our games what net profit margin. Net profit margin. How to calculate net profit margin? Very straightforward. Net profit divided by sales. What is our net profit? What is the company's net profit? 20,000. What is our total sales? Is it 20,000 net profit? $320,000. What is our sales? 840,000. Now, what is the percentage? 38 point. Therefore, as net profit ratio, we are ahead of what? Expected one. Do you all agree with me? We are ahead of what? Expected margin, right? Second one is CS ratio. CS ratio. CS ratio equal contribution divided by sales. Contribution divided by sales. Contribution divided by what? Sales. What is the contribution? What is the contribution? Come on, what is the contribution? Total contribution. 7 lakhs. 7 lakhs divided by 840,000 times 100. How many percentage? 83.33. Even for the CS ratio, it is clearly says what? You are well ahead of what? Expected CS ratio percentage. Right? Please put a star mark and write. Star mark and write. Stealth product has generated. Stealth product. After this answer you should take down. After this answer you should take down. The stealth product. Yeah, that is a game's name. Stealth product. Look at the name of that product. Stealth has generated 38% and 83% net profit and CS ratio respectively. Net profit and CS ratio respectively. This full stop and continue. This represents ahead of what? Its target. Ahead of its target. Its target. Its target. Next line. Now only starting part of life cycle costing. Right? Next line, next para. However, it is better to do a further investigation. It is better to do a further investigation with regard to the life cycle costing approach. Life cycle costing approach to check the performance whether the company is in line with expected margin. Right, okay. Now, when it comes to life cycle costing approach, just have a look. Life cycle costing approach. You tell me what needs to be done. Life cycle costing approach, what needs to be done? Yes, from your what? Net profit. From your net profit, you'll have to adjust what? Research and development cost. Yeah. Design and development. Right, okay. From the net profit minus what? Design and development cost equals to life cycle profit. That is $320,000 minus design and how much? Design and development 300,000. Design and development cost. Yeah, 300,000. Therefore, the profit is what? Only what? 20,000. Profit is only how much? 20,000. Now, if you calculate the ratio, right? Profit divided by sales times 100. Profit is what? 20,000. Sales is how much? 840,000 times 100. That would give you how many percentage? .38. Yes, 2.38%. If you include the life cycle costing concept, it is giving you only how many percentage? 2.38. Therefore, it is better to assess the performance including the what? Life cycle cost. Understand what I said? Therefore, last point, only the one sentence, just take down. In order to properly assess the performance, of a product, sorry, not of the, of a product, I'm sorry, of a product, the whole life cycle needs to be considered. The whole life cycles needs to be considered. All life cycles needs to be considered. That's all the life cycle costing. If you have any questions, please put them forward. I can clarify your doubt before we get started with the new chapter. you want step by step, I can show you the answers if you really want. This is the last part of the answer. This is the previous one. This is the calculation that we have carried out. Any questions? Are you all okay? Down or up? Last part. Excuse me. I want to tell you one more thing also. Excuse me. First question will not teach you how to do the second question. First question will not teach you how to do the second question. Second question, what we did, will not teach you how to do the what exam questions. Your real exam, if it is tested. At the point of time, based on the information what is provided, you will have to develop the way of what getting the answers. That cannot be given what in advance. Cannot be predicted in advance. Look at, is there any link between the first question and 10 marks question and 20 marks question? No, no. Both question which we discussed but in different way. We got the answers by using our different approaches. So when it comes to another past paper question, it will be what in a different method. You can't expect the what same thing what you have used but over here. All in the class, you try to bring the laptop, try to do everything. Right, shall we get started with the new chapter? What they have uploaded to you? Anything new?
Sí, pero por 1 mano.
Right, don't take down the topic for the timing. I'll tell you the topic that are we going to discuss tomorrow's class. To start that topic, I want to do another supporting topic today. Therefore, we'll be starting with the supporting topic. But the supporting topic separately, it's available what our next class. Next class in the sense what? Next slots week after. Right? Yeah, you are having class. So this is our topic. Throughput accounting. Don't take down this topic for the timing. Don't take down. This is our main chapter, throughput accounting. To do this throughput accounting, you should have the basic idea with regard to the what? Limiting factor. That is also single limiting factor. To do throughput accounting is what? Modern business technique. Throughput accounting is a modern business technique, right? If you look at the limiting factor is what? Single limiting factor is a traditional approach. That is a traditional method. Without knowing the traditional method, you won't be able to understand what throughput accounting. Therefore, my plan is to explain first what? Single limiting factor. After completion of the single limiting factor, we will start the what? Throughput accounting. Then it's easy for you to understand the what? Throughput accounting. Right. My first question: have you all learned this limiting factor before? Anybody who knew the limiting factor? Limiting factor. Any idea limiting factor? Take down the small heading, short-term decision making. Short-term decision making. Short-term decision making. Decision making. Excuse me. This chapter itself 30% by in your syllabus almost. This chapter itself almost how many percentage? 30%. What are the topic? Single limiting factor. Excuse me. Just have a look. Single limiting factor. Second one is multiple limiting factor, which is a linear program. Third one is break-even analysis, single product. Second one is multi-product break-even analysis. Next one is a relevant costing. Next one is a make or buy decision. Next one is a shutdown operation. Next one is what? Accepting special order. Last one is what? Joint product and byproduct with the further processing. All these parts are coming under what? Short-term decision making. To do this throughput accounting, only one area needs to be what? Improved. That is what? Single limiting factor. First of all, you should know what is meant by short term. You tell me what is meant by short term. I have explained to you all. What is the duration of the short term? Very good. Less than a year. So if it is a less than a year, what is more important? Do you think the profit is important or the contribution? What is more important in the short run? Contribution will be more important than what? Profit. The emphasis will be on what? Contributions. Because in the short run, fixed production overheads are considered as a what? Period cost, which is not relevant for decision making. Therefore, we do take the decision based on what? Contribution. So, if you say the contribution is important than profit, what is the accounting system which is applied in the short run? Do you go with the marginal costing or absorption costing? We discussed in the very first class or second class, I'm sorry. Yesterday, what is the system that we do go? Are we going with the marginal costing system or absorption costing system? In the short run, contribution, go back and check what I have taught you yesterday's class. You took down the notes even. Marginal costing. Therefore, what is the summary of what? Short term? What is the summary of the short term? Contribution is important. How to calculate contribution? Sales minus all variable costs. In the short run, fixed production overheads are considered as a what? Period cost, which is not relevant for decision making. Therefore, the emphasis will be on what? Contribution. Very simple idea. In the short run, marginal costing system is always applied. Marginal costing system is always applied. Mark this idea quickly. When doing short-term decision making, when doing short-term decision making, the important thing is to remember that the marginal costing system is always used. I'll repeat again. When doing short-term decision making, the important thing is to remember that marginal costing system is always applied. Marginal costing system is always applied or used. Full stop and continue. This is because in the short run, the fixed production overheads the fixed production overheads are considered as period costs. Fixed production overheads are considered as period costs, which is not relevant for decision making. Right? Put a star mark and write. In the short run, the emphasis will be on contribution. Within the bracket, how to calculate contribution? Sales minus total variable cost. How to calculate contribution? Within the bracket, sales minus total variable cost. Now small heading, limiting factor. Excuse me, since I am teaching you the limiting factor now, I won't be teaching once again limiting factor, because when it comes to our syllabus order, there's a chapter called limiting factor. I won't be teaching that part at that time, since I am teaching now. That's why I told you already, I have changed the order because of what your capacity. Right. What is meant by limiting factor? Any idea? From the name itself, we can get the definitions. Limiting factor. Limiting factor. Any idea? I'll tell you the definition. At least you come up with the example. Right? Listen to this. What about you? Any idea with regard to the limiting factor? Are you state of mind? Today? Breakup. Regretting. We'll be learning. There's a table called regret table. Under risk and uncertainty. Right, okay, come back to the point. It depends on how many girlfriends that you have. You will develop a table. Right? Okay. Come back to the point. Limited factor is a resource that restricts. Limited factor is a resource that restricts the profit maximization of an organization. Limiting factor is a resource. Excuse me, I have given you in singular. The reason we are going to talk about single limiting factor. When it comes to multiple limiting factor, I will change it to what? Plural. Not the resources. But here is what? Only resource that restricts the profit maximizations of an organization. Limiting factor is a resource that restricts the profit maximizations of an organization. Or you can give the definition in this way also. Limiting factor is a resource that restricts the production process of an organization. Either way it can be said. But this is the original definition. Limiting factor is a resource that restricts the profit maximizations of an organization. Or limiting factor is a resource that restricts the production process of an organization. You tell me now, in the company, what are the factors that is restricting your profit? Resources. Rather saying the factor, resources. Something which is what? Annoying, constraint, bottleneck. I have given a number of similar words. Something which is blocking. Something which is what? Blocking what? Your profit. Annoying, right? Something which is what? Disturbing. What are the resources that you would see in the company? Human resources.
Lagging there.
No, here what I am no correct. What I am expecting you when you are doing your production process, some factor will disturb for your smooth operations. One would be raw material. Right? Another one would be labors. Another one would be machine hours. Another one would be working capital, but we won't be discussing the working capital for the time being. As long as if you do not have a working capital, no point of doing the what business. Therefore, in management accounting perspective, we are going to argue only with the what. There can be a limiting factor with the what raw material, or there can be a limiting factor with the what labors, or what machine hours. One. For the timing, there should be what only one limiting factor. Now I'm going to explain to you how are we going to find out the limiting factor where in the company. Let's take a small example about what bakery. Right? In a bakery, you are making a two products. One is bread. In a bakery, you are making a bread and you are making bun. Bun. You are making a bread and you are making what? Bun. Now you found the market demand. Market demand. You know what is meant by market demand. What is meant by market demand? What is meant by market demand? This is not management accounting. What is the maximum that can be sold out where in the market? Maximum number that can be sold out where in the market is what? Market demand. You can't go beyond the market demand. Let's say the market demand for bread is 1000. If you make more than 1000, it cannot be sold out where in the market. The market demand is maximum amount that can be sold out where in the market. That is what is known as market demand. For bread, 1000 units. Bun, let's say 500 units. To make this bread and bun, let's take one type of a raw material, which is what? Wheat flour. Correct? To make bread, you need 0.5 kilogram of wheat flour. This is raw material. Raw material 0.5 kilo per unit per bread. If I pronounce proper way, should be what? Not per unit, per bread. Whereas for bun, each unit will require 0.25 kilograms per unit. Once again, per bun. What is the total material needed requirement? You tell me. What is the total material requirement? To make entire part of the market demand of what bread, which you would require 1000 times 0.5 kilo, total 500 kilogram is needed. Agree with me? If you look at bun, totally how many kilogram which is needed? 120, sorry. No, 125, no? 125 kilograms needed. Total to satisfy entire customers where in the market. To satisfy entire customers where in the market, you should have where in your store how many kilograms? 625 kilograms. But in your stores, they say available raw material, available wheat flour, available raw material or wheat flour within the bracket, only 550 kilograms. I hope you understood my questions. Now to satisfy the entire customer, you should have how many kilograms? 625. But you check the store, it says but we have only what? 550. What you would do if you are running a bakery? Very good answer. Appreciate your answer. What we will do is we will try to make a call to what your supplier. Please deliver another how many? Excuse me. Please try to deliver what? Shortfall of how much? 75. Then we can eliminate this topic from the syllabus. As long as if you are able to get the shortfall resources, if you are able to get, there's no what limiting factor. There's no what limiting factor because you can do a smooth process, no. Because what is meant by limiting factor, the factor does not what obtain under any circumstance. That 75 kilo is the shortfall, no. That cannot be obtained where in the market. That is the main assumption of what? Limiting factor. Because some of the theories and the techniques has been developed with the what? Some assumption. Whenever you are facing this issue, that technique is what? Applicable. It does not mean each and every technique which has been deployed will be applied by the company. If the company is experiencing that issue, then you can apply. You got my point. Now my questions here. There is a shortfall of what? 75 kilograms. Shortfall or deficiency or deficit. Deficit or deficiency or shortfall. 75 kilogram. Now my questions. As I have clearly explained that shortfall cannot be obtained where in the market. No resources available where in the market. My first question, what is the resource? What is the factor which is blocking your operations? That is what is known as limiting factor. Any factor, if it is blocking your what? Smooth process, smooth operations, which is known as what? Limiting factor. For this bakery, limiting factor is what? Raw material. Say for an example, I will add one more point. To make this bread, you need 2 hours, labor hours. This is 2 hours, right? Per unit, 2 hours per unit. This is what? 1 hour per unit. What is the total labor requirement? Here 2000 hours, correct? Do you all agree with me? Labor requirement for bread 2000 hours, for bun 500 hours, correct? Altogether needed 2500 hours, but available 3000 hours. Do you have shortfall resources or surplus resources? Will this factor impact or block your smooth process? No. Then this is not a limiting factor. How to identify the limiting factor? Any factor or any resource, if it is blocking your production process, which is known as what? Limiting factor. How to identify the limiting factor? If there is any shortfall. If there is any shortfall, which is known as limiting factor. Is that understandable first? Online, are you clear? Are you all clear? Thank you, Umar. My second questions. Now you found the limiting factor is what? Not labor, but material. Now you won't be able to satisfy the entire customers where in the market, since you don't have what? Sufficient resources. You don't have sufficient resources. Now this available resources 550, how you will allocate to what? Your products? You say? What ratio? Demand ratio. No, your answer is correct. That's what I'm asking. My question is very simple. Which product that you will give more priority? Yes, one answer that I got. Listen very carefully. I'm just making this as a story for you to understand that what topic. That's why I took the one bakery example. Right? Just have a look. Now you found that your limiting factor is what? It's very clear. Raw material, wheat flour, because that is the factor which is not sufficient to satisfy the entire market demand. Shortfall resources. But labor, sometimes it is not always compulsory to be what? Raw material. It can be anything. It can be about material, or it can be about machine hours, or it can be about labor hours. Now the second question that I have raised, what product that you will give the priority when you are producing the product? One answer that I have got from there, we'll have to give the more priority for bread, which means his argument, he says, first we will allocate all the resources for what? Bread. We will make what? 1000 unit. To make 1000 unit, 1000 times 0.5, 500 kilo. From the 550, we will give 500 to what? Bread. The remaining what? 50 kilo, we will give it to what? Bun. That is his argument. Is that a way? Yes. Any other answers? Bottleneck resources. What is meant by bottleneck resources? Yes, then how? On which basis? What do you suggest? Do you go with the first bread or bun? Or bun or bread? Depends on demands. More demands is what? Market demand for what? Bread. Therefore, the bread should have been given the priority. It is the argument for your side. Selling price. Do you want me to give the selling price? I can give if you want. Okay. As additional information. Selling price. This is what 100. This is what 70. This is dollars. This is also what? Dollars. Then which product to be given more priority? I don't know what is meant by throughput. So these people, even they don't know what is meant by throughput. There's no word for throughput under limiting factor. Throughput comes under throughput account. Now I'm not teaching the throughput account. I have clearly told you, no. I'm not teaching the throughput account. I'm just teaching the limiting factor. So one answer that I've got, but that's what he said. But wife.
Because for 5 we need only 120 kg. Balance.
Which is the limiting factor?
After movie, what is the language that has been used by in the movie? No, we have already found the limiting factor is what? Raw material. Yeah. So he, before come to your point, what he said was, he said, we'll have to give the priority for bun since the requirement is only what? 0.25 kilo. Comparatively, the requirement is lower. Therefore, we'll have to give the priority for what? That is his argument.
So we have to find the
labor is. That's why I am asking from you, where are you? After the movie that you are asking the question, what is the language you use?
This is the limiting factor.
Robert.
Take 2.25 kg for the bread and 5 kg.
No, 0.25 kg for what? Bun and 0.5 kg for bread.
And for
Any other answers? No answers. If I am running this company, bakery, what I will do is, I want to make more profit by using available resources. Do you agree with me? Do you all agree with me? I want to make more profit by using available resources. Then what I would do is, out of these two products, I will try to find out what is the product which is giving me more profit, lucrative. If bread is more lucrative, First, I will allocate the resources for what? Bread. Then, if there are any remaining resources, I'll give it to what? Vice versa. If bun is what? Lucrative, other way around. Now the problem would arise. How to identify what is most lucrative product? Short term. Emphasis will be on what? Contributions. Emphasis will be on what? Contribution. Now I'll give you the contribution. Now you tell me what is what profitable product. Right. Bread. Bun. Contributions. Contribution for bread $60 per unit. Bun is $50 per unit. What is most lucrative product? Bread. Bun. Bun. No, bun. What is most lucrative product? I'm not asking them what complicated questions. You know the contribution is one part of what profit. So both product I have given the contribution. But why? 150, bread 60.
But raw material per unit, the amounts.
Correct. Excuse me, you tell me now, ladies and gentlemen, you tell me, right? This $60 contribution we are earning after giving how many kilo? No, after giving every 1 unit 0.5 kilo. Agree with me? Every 0.5 kilo, 500 grams. When you are giving to bread, it gives you the profit of how much? 60. While bun, whenever you give what? 0.25 kilo, it gives you the contribution of what? 50. Is it in the comparable ground? Is it comparable ground? No. Therefore, we need to calculate contributions per limiting factor. We need to calculate what? Contribution per limiting factor. How to calculate contribution per limiting factor? We are bringing for the both product into the what? Comparable ground. Comparable ground. How? If you look at bread, $60 per unit, therefore divided by 0.5 kilo, $120 per kilogram. Is that understandable? Is that understandable? Which means whenever you give 1 kilo to bread, 1 kilo from the you available, that is the shortfall resources. That is the shortfall resources. So that is the resources we are going to make what maximum profit by using that resources. Whenever you give 1 kilo to bread, that bread gives you the contribution of how much? 120. If you look at bun, $50 after giving 0.25. Therefore, every 1 kilo, that would give you what? $200 per kilo. Whenever you give 1 kilo to bun, that gives you the contribution of how much? 200. Now you tell me what is the most lucrative product? This is first. This is what? Second, if you rank the product. Is that understandable? Now from your available resources, you will have to allocate first priority for what? Bun. Right after completion of the bun production, you can give it to what? Bread. Sometime available resources, we can make only one product. Sometime, based on the nature of the product, we may produce only one product. Then you think we will be losing the customer for other product. Therefore, it will be that is none of our business. As a management accountant, from the available resources, we'll have to get use of what maximum benefit. That is the duty of what? Management account. We don't have to worry about what we will be losing the customer. That will look after by the what? Marketing department. We will give the report, let them take a decision. We will tell them this is the best way of what? Making the what? More profit. Right? The last part of this what? We will be developing a maximum production plan. How to develop a maximum production plan? From the available resources 550, I will be teaching one complete question step by step. No worries. Just giving the small brief about the what limiting factor. From the 550 kilo, we will give the priority first for what? Bun. Then we will satisfy the entire market demand of what? Bun. Remaining, we will give it to what? Bread. That is, we call it as what? Optimal or maximum production plan. Optimum or optimal production plan. Maximum. We can't go with the market demand. Why? We don't have a sufficient resources. So we will be making the profit only for what? Maximum production plan. That is the company's profit. That is the highest profit that you can make by using available resources. That is what we are teaching or what we are learning from what? Limiting factor analysis. Single limiting factor analysis. This is quite similar to the what? Throughput account. Quite similar to the throughput account. Only one difference in the throughput accounting, because that is a modern business technique, which was invented by Goldratt, 1986. Right? His name is Goldratt. What he suggested in modern business environment, and we will be learning that part later. You will get confused. First, try to get sorted with the what? Single limiting factor. Shall I get started with the one complete question limiting factor? Shall we make it tomorrow? It's up to you. If you want, I can dictate the questions. Or wait, shall you do it like this? I'll dictate the question. You don't need to try. I will explain the whole part, the basic. Then we will do some questions where tomorrow's class. Shall I dictate the questions only? Take them. So then straight away we can come and start the questions, no? Right? A company produces and sells two products. Company produces and sells two products. Sells two products for which the details are given below. For which the details are given below. For which the two products, for which the details are given below. For which, don't change the word. For which the details are given below. Writings are visible for you all, no? Visible, no? I'll read out. No worries. I'll read out. No worries. Market demand for A and B, 10,000 units and 25,000 units. Market demand. What is on the screen? Selling price per unit. Just take down in detail. Selling price per unit, $100 and $50 respectively for A and B. Third one, direct material cost within the bracket $5 per kilogram. $5 per kilogram. $20 for A, $15 for B. $20 for A, $15 for what? B. Next one, direct labor or direct labor. $2 per hour. $2 per hour. $2 per hour. A, $10 per unit. $10 per unit. B, $8 per unit. $8 per unit. Correct? Available material 120,000 kilograms. Available material 120,000 kilograms. Available labor was 110,000 hours. Available material 120,000 kilograms. Available labor was 110,000 hours. Total fixed cost as you are aware, fixed cost $50,000. $50,000. $50,000. Right? Take down all the requirement. First requirement. Identify the limiting factor. Identify the limiting factor. Identify the limiting factor. Right? Identify the limiting factor. Identify the limiting factor. Second requirement. Calculate contributions per limiting factor. Calculate contribution per limiting factor. Contribution per limiting factor. Third requirement. Rank the product. Rank the product. Third requirement, rank the product. RANK. Rank the product. Rank the product. Yeah. Rank the product. Fourth one, develop the maximum production plan. Develop the maximum production plan. Develop the maximum production plan. Or another name is optimal production plan. Optimal production plan. Last one, calculate the profit for the maximum production plan. Calculate profit for the maximum production plan. Profit for the maximum production plan. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. In case if the examiner asks only the last part, what is the last part? You have to follow all 4 steps. Without having a prior steps, you can't get the answer for the last part. I will prove it to you. Once again, I'll start from the scratch tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hope you all enjoyed. See you at tomorrow by same time 8 o'clock. Right after completion of this part. After the break, we would be able to start the new chapter as what proved.